Hello and welcome to the Nonprofit Exchange. I'm your host, C. Richard Gilcrease, and today we have an interesting show about our veterans in the area of the Hampton Roads. And our guest is Miss Renee Foster. Miss Foster, thank you for coming on the show today.
You're welcome.
And glad to have you here. Tell us about the Mission Continues.
So the Mission Continues was founded in 2007. We are a national nonprofit veteran organization. We empower veterans to continue their service and so that the service can become one of community impact.
That is so important. As I saw that written down, I was like, man, this is great. Because all these nonprofit organizations are out here, and a lot of them need volunteers. So tell us a little bit about what kind of projects you guys get involved in.
So the uniqueness about Mission Continues, we partner with underserved communities. So we look for those nonprofit and underserved communities to partner with to help them build capacity. Projects that we've done, we've created community gardens, we did some renovation in schools, such as renovating the teacher's lounge, building a reading loft in the library for the students to utilize. We've built sandboxes, benches within parks. Probably if we had a plan to build it, we can pretty much get it done.
Wow, sounds like you all do a lot of physical structure kind of things. Do you ever do any kind of ongoing volunteering with human service kind of activities?
We've done a couple of projects with the food bank as far as going in and sorting food. We have a couple of projects coming up where we'll actually be going out to help them distribute food to the homeless.
All right. So now I know one of the projects that I work with is called Youth Earn and Learn. And they are always trying to look for volunteers to help them with the service they provide to the community. Have you ever heard of that organization?
Yes, I have. I'm very familiar with that.
With Karen?
Yes.
All right. Everybody knows Karen Bailey around here.
Yes.
But that kind of project, getting the service people to work with them. The other one was a project around feeding the homeless. Actually, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, there's an organization called the Hope Foundation that actually feeds the homeless down in Ocean View. Is that something that your organization would like to do?
Correct. We definitely, anything that gets us out in the community and gets us more involved with what our mission and purpose is, then definitely is something we can look into partnering with.
I worked with an organization at one point called Veterans Home Front. Are you familiar with that gentleman who runs Veterans Home Front?
Yes, I am.
You know, he's gotten into my head about suicides and homelessness among veterans. Tell me something about what your organization has done in regards to those issues that keep facing the veterans.
So one of the things about a veteran is when we transition out of the military, that sense of purpose is what we're looking for. So Mission Continues kind of satisfies that need. It gives them that sense of purpose again, where they're helping the community solve some of the toughest challenges they may be facing, whether it's homelessness or hunger or, mentoring kids or whatever it may be. So it gives that veteran, once again, that sense of purpose. They know they have a mission, but now their mission is just within the community that they live in and around.
That's excellent. I think that, I guess what I'm trying to get here is finding ways in which the community can help you with the veterans. And I think sometimes, by us having a show like the Veterans, this Nonprofit Exchange, it really was an idea of mine to try to make sure that we started to exchange some ideas as to how we could help one another. Name some of the things that we could do to help you with what you're doing.
One of the biggest things is just coming out to volunteer alongside the veterans, because that creates that level playing field for that veteran, and they're in a comfortable space. They're able to talk, amongst the people that they're around, so they're becoming more comfortable. So it kind of gives them that, hey, I'm in a safe place. I can let my hair down, so to say, and
right.
They kind of, just get to know everybody that's out here. So that is one of the biggest things, just volunteering alongside of us, because we are always looking for those helping hands to help us out, and that will help out tremendously.
After reading your resume, I was just too much with this bio on you. Tell me about all these things that you've done with IT. You have got a great history of working with IT as a project manager, as a person having all of the nonprofits that I work with actually need your services. Tell me about how you think you could switch those two.
So I do have an background in IT. I did IT for over 13 years as a system administrator. Um, my role, I started out as a computer repair person, basically, or troubleshooting computer issues. So I have that skill set,
Yeah.
and I also have the skill set to work on servers. Also have a skill set of do project management and also disaster recovery plans.
Yes, and when I looked at that kind of background, nonprofits start off doing things that they really want to do, but they don't know how you say, modernize it, put it up to a situation where they can actually start to uh, quantify some of the things that they're actually doing.
Correct.
So, is there a way for you to help with that kind of a situation where they can actually, use that skill level to start to mechanize or modernize the way that they do things? Let me give you an example. One of the things about feeding the homeless was you have 140 people coming in there. What could we have done to modernize that from a paperwork standpoint to a computerized standpoint?
There's always the possibility of, sometimes there's phone apps for your phone that you can utilize,
Right.
or having a person check them in at the desk, or having the tablets readily available for the person to sign in, versus them having to fill out a sheet or something of that nature. Would probably be the best way to go with that.
And that's what they've actually done recently. They started doing something like that. Now, the other example was the one where we have this nonprofit organization. In fact, there's a couple of them that are dealing with domestic violence. What could, that kind of application be put into a domestic violence situation? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just want to make sure that as you work with the veterans, look at some of the technical things that you've already learned that you could teach veterans to go out and help nonprofit organizations with this whole modernization of how they do business. Because I think that that's one of the issues that I've worked with nonprofit organizations over the last 53 years. And I've really kind of been interested in why the computer age has not gotten to the nonprofit community at the level it needs to get to. In other words, there's a lot of people using Facebook now. There's a lot of people using some of the different techniques within social media, but they're not getting it down to the annual reports, getting it down to the delivery of service. And I think that that's the key areas in which we need to be able to say, over the course of a year, here's our statistics that show what we've done and what the need is. Because, somebody even actually said, some of you nonprofits are duplicating service. Now, the moment I hear that, I get crazy. And the reason why I get crazy is because until you can tell me that there's only 500 people that need your help, then now you can tell me about duplicating the service, because somebody could put together an organization that can service 500 people. But if you tell me that there's 5,000 folks out there and you now only have one service that can only got a capacity of only dealing with maybe 150 people, then we need to duplicate that service so that we can, service the whole 5,000. And I think that that's where we don't understand what's going on. We don't know enough about how many people are available, how many folks are involved, so that we can figure out how many activities we need to have. In other words, when you guys started with the mission continue, you're now in how many cities?
We're located in 54 major cities across the U.S.
54 major cities across the U.S. And that tells you what? that there are veterans out there that need to be serviced all over the country,
Correct.
as opposed to having one in Hampton Roads.
Correct.
And having somebody tell you, well, why you duplicate your service? You know, because you're probably not meeting the need right here in Hampton Roads. Because you got 7 cities. How many people contact you every week trying to get to you about doing stuff?
It varies.
Yes.
Yeah, some weeks are more busier than others, but yeah, it varies.
Right, and so that's the kind of thing that I think the nonprofit exchange was trying to do, was trying to figure out a way that what are the nonprofit community doing, how are they helping the community, and now look at what it can do to actually service the community to be able to help more. So does that give you some ideas as to where we're going with this show?
Yes.
All right. So now look at your organization and say, over the next 5 years, what are you all trying to accomplish with the veterans that are coming out of the military and those veterans who are people who want to help with the veterans?
So one of our strategic plans for our organization right now is we want to actually I guess you can say promote at least 1,000 veteran service leaders. So we have established several programs to help with that. One of our programs is our Veteran Service Leadership Corps, which we select a cohort of about 50 veterans, and they go through a leadership training program. That program encompasses community engagement, advocacy, and self-care. And then we also will be launching in 2020 a women's veteran leadership program. Those programs are still being developed, and we're hoping to launch maybe mid-year next year. And we have our service platoon leaders. They are the actual people that are on the grounds running the community projects. So we're hoping to tap into that and create a cohort for them as well. So they will all get kind of the same training, community engagement, how to do advocacy for the community, self-care, making sure they're taking care of themselves above everything else. And then at the end of that, they're also offered, professional development stipend to continue their education in those areas. So that's one of the ways that we're kind of reaching out, trying to pull more veterans into our programs.
So community engagement, let's break that down a little bit. What does that really mean to the mission continue?
So that means us partnering with a underserved community, and we're staying in that community 2 to 3 years. We want to really see an impact, whether that platoon is focusing on hunger or food insecurity or at-risk youth, whatever their cause is for that platoon, because every platoon has what we call an operation group. And those are the things that they are looking to perform or looking to tackle with that community. And they may start at a school in a community, and they will branch out within that community to other organizations to help see that impact within those 2 to 3 years.
That is excellent, because I really think that sometimes we think that we can keep on having the same problem over and over again. And I'm of the opinion, and that's my opinion, that we can solve some of these things. We need to move on from having certain things happen. Give you an example. This whole idea of shooting people, that needs to stop. And having military folks involved in this type of process may help to stop it, because they know about weapons, they know about all that kind of activity, because they either have been trained through boot camp or they've been trained through actual military combat to know something about how that works. So if you took on a neighborhood within Norfolk, within Chesapeake, and said this is the no shooting zone, and these veterans are going to work with all the people in those areas to have that happen, that we're going to measure over the course of weeks, months, and years that there's no shooting that's done in that neighborhood or that community or that area, depending upon how you do it. Is that what I'm looking for?
We can tackle things of that nature. One of the things that we really do when we go in a community, we want to establish relationships with the residents of that community. We want to hear the voice of the people living there. I'm of a belief that The time of building it and they shall come is over.
All right.
I believe everybody has a voice, and everybody kind of know what they want and what they do not want in their community. So I feel like we as Mission Continues, we listen to that.
Excellent.
We listen to that, establish the relationship, build the trust with the residents of that community to know exactly what they're looking for, what they're wanting, and we need to kind of advocate on their behalf. That's something that, you know, we have platoon leaders or members of our service leadership corps trained in, that we can possibly help them advocate in areas that they're having issues with. So we really, our number one thing is we become part of that community.
Okay.
We just don't show up and, oh, we do our project and we are gone.
Okay.
I mean, we show up to civic league meetings, we show up to school nights, we show up.
All right.
Because we want them to know we got your back, just like, you know, when we were in the military. That was the thing we always said, we got your six.
Right.
Well, we want that community to know the same thing, that we got them. You know, we're there for them, not, you know, anything else or everybody else. We want to help the residents of that community.
All right, you said another word that I think that we need to have broke down a little bit more. Advocacy. When you say advocacy, what is the kind of things that you envision the military doing to help help in that area?
So some of the things, for me, advocacy is basically having someone in place to be the voice for you.
Okay.
If you really don't know how to go about getting things done, the right channels, whether it's political or you're on, you know, your state or your federal or your local government level, then you can have that person advocate on your behalf.
Okay.
To make sure things are taken care of. Make sure that you're not left behind.
That's real interesting, because you could teach others to advocate for themselves. So you could actually wind up training a group of folks in the community to become advocates of their cause or issue or whatever they're trying to do.
Correct.
All right. That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking that maybe this organization now, how are you funded? If somebody would say, okay, I want to donate to this, what is the way that you guys are getting funded to keep this organization functioning?
We have sponsorships, and anyone can actually go to missionteams.org website and click on donate, and they can actually donate there.
Okay, so that means that you're going off of donations, and is there some other kind of grant that somebody's given that organization?
We apply just like any other nonprofit. We apply for grants.
Okay.
We seek sponsorship from various entities, foundations, corporations, and things of that nature.
So over the course of your, let's say, a year here in the Hampton Roads area, name some of the kind of donations that you've gotten, both financially and otherwise.
So that's kind of out of my league.
Okay, all right.
We do have a development department
All
that
right.
handles all of that for us. So normally I will, you know, maybe meet a organization and hand them off to my development department, and they cultivate and do everything else. So funding is kind of out of my arena.
Okay, but at least that is one of the areas in which people can support what you're doing. There is a development person. That person or organization or group of people work to get monies coming into the Mission Continue.
Correct.
All right. So now there's a website and a Facebook page or whatever. Tell us what those are.
So the website is themissioncontinues.org. You click on the link. I think it says donate.
Right.
And you can click there and donate, and you can, you know, designate it to the Hampton Roads platoon, or you can just put it general and it goes within the general fund. Or, you know, you can check us out on Facebook. We have the Mission Continues on Facebook. If you're looking just to see what's going on in and around Hampton Roads, you can go to the Mission Continues /Hampton Roads, and you get to our Facebook page that way, and you can see photos and everything of things we've done in the past.
Okay, so now that's really good, because that gives people an opportunity to actually see some of the actual projects that you're doing, and to be able to make some suggestions about projects that they might want to see done. Your community participation model is, I think, one of the things I think you need to just talk about a little bit more, and that is, if you go into a community, how are you getting the residents of that community to actually come out and talk to you guys and say, you know, here's what we need, and here's what we're interested in doing. Tell us about how you do that.
So normally we will start maybe per se at a school or something in that
Okay.
nature. Get the kids involved.
All right.
Get the kids involved, and then we kind of know if we started at school, most of the kids are going to stay in and around that school. So once the kids are involved and they see us out in the community, they recognize the blue shirts, they recognize who we are, and then they come out to our projects. And normally when they come out, the parents come out and say, hey,
Right.
what's going on? My kid is always wanting to follow you guys to a project.
Okay.
So we get the parents out that way, or we attend civic league meetings.
Okay.
We have worked with other organizations within the community that go door to door, pass out flyers, knock on doors, just to introduce ourselves,
Okay.
see what their needs are and their concerns are with the community. So any avenue that we can take that we think might work, we try.
Hey, that's great work. I mean, because knocking on them doors and getting folks to come out and sit down. Do you ever start any kind of, petitions, or not petitions, but projects that hammer onto a certain subject? In other words, let's say the subject is after school activities for young people. And all you do is have some of your people actually sit down and work through whatever kind of after school programs a particular community might need. Is that a project that you might have heard others have done in around the country because you got a wealth of information here sitting there. You're saying 54 other organizations are out there doing stuff. Well, you can actually copy some of the kinds of projects that they've done, whatever kind of area they're in. Have you seen something like that?
I can't say right offhand that I have.
Okay.
But if there's a need in the community where they need mentors for their after-school program,
Right.
we definitely put it out to the members that are involved with us to see if we can get them involved.
Okay. So, because those are the kind of projects I think that help to develop a community when the community has different, special needs within that community. Let's say that they need a traffic light somewhere or something like that. Somebody having an advocacy around what that community might need or what that neighborhood might need. And I think I'm breaking down community to neighborhood because you literally about 4 or 5 streets that turn out to be your neighborhood versus the community that turns out to be the whole area around that. So I'm just looking at ways in which more people can, tap into your source to help them resolve some of the issues around what they think are some of the problems within the neighborhood.
So I'll give you one example.
Okay.
We partnered with a school in Portsmouth, and our first project there was around Earth Day.
Okay.
So they have a courtyard that the principal would like to see some activities out in the courtyard for the kids to do. We did our first project there on a Saturday. The principal invited us back to do a project during the school day.
Okay.
And we actually had all the students out there with us during the school day. We spent maybe about 3 hours together during that school day, where the kids actually were doing hands-on building benches with us, putting together garden beds and actually planting the garden beds. I had the young ladies out there making sun catchers and things of that nature to hang in the garden. So that was to me was a great impact.
Yeah.
One of the lasting memories from that particular project is we had 2 young guys that came out to school, and most young guys are like, okay, I don't want to be out here, ain't got time for this, these old people out here want us to help them out. But I guess one of our gentlemen that volunteers with us, he's our platoon leader, he was a senior chief in the military.
Okay.
So the senior chief is often the one that rallied the troops and
Right.
pass down the orders on what's going to happen and what you're going to do. So he kind of corralled the guys, and he's like, hey, I'm going to show y'all how to build this bench. Anybody want to learn, stay with me. The rest of you guys, go ahead and go on by your way. So he did. He had 2 of the young guys to stick with them. They built the first bench together. The second bench, he turned them loose and allowed them to build it themselves, and they did. They actually built the second bench without any assistance by themselves. And at the end, we flipped it over and said, hey, why don't you sign this? And They signed it, and one of the young guys actually put his phone number there. And I was like, okay. I said, why are you putting your phone number there?
Right.
And he's like, hey, I just learned a skill from you guys. I can take this skill and I can make some money. So I'm putting my phone number on here just in case somebody else wants a business. He's like, I can come help them out.
There
so things
go.
of that nature is how we, as Mission continues, touch the lives of the community and kind of help, touching that young guy's life at that school at that point in time may have been a lasting impact to him. Who knows where that takes him, over the course of the next 3-4 months or whatever, or for the rest of his life. Just that simple impact alone of him learning that skill from us, something that he had no knowledge of how to do, because we had to show him how to use the drill that day.
Right.
So that's kind of some of the impact that we do within the community.
That is excellent. Now, I can listen to stories like that all the rest of the day, because those are the kind of impact that a lot of times people don't recognize. That you got military people who come out of the military who are still trying to help the community because they've been trained, they've been educated, they've been put to some real degree of knowledge to do some things like that. What if somebody says, okay, I'm going to call this place and get some of these people to come out to my place? Give them a phone number where they can reach you at.
My phone number is 757-615-3506.
One more time.
757-615-3506.
We're going to do that again, but we've got a few more minutes left in the show, and I just wanted to make sure that we cover. You've got 2 daughters that are out here doing very well. You raised as a single mom. Talk about what that looked like over the course of the years.
I'm proud to say both of my daughters are graduates of Norfolk State.
Yes, I saw that.
One is a state trooper, my oldest one. She's a state trooper. Actually, now she's off the road, and now she's a recruiter for them.
Okay.
She lives up in the Woodbridge area. My youngest daughter is in the world of politics. She started out with Senator Mark Warner. She actually landed a job with him while she was still enrolled here in college.
Okay.
She's kind of moved on to, she did some time with House Representative, what's her name, Elaine Loria.
Okay.
She worked with her for a little while, and now she's doing her own consulting business.
Excellent. Well, that's in itself a feat. For you to be able to raise 2 daughters and have them go out there and do all the work that you've done. Now, your title with the organization now is what?
City Impact Manager.
City Impact Manager. In that job, what do you do to help this organization?
So my job entails me making connections within the community, locating where the actual, we call them service platoons, exactly what communities they're going to be located in, finding the right partners for them to work with, recruiting volunteers, both military and non-military.
Okay.
Just looking, just actually looking at the big picture of what we're going to do for the rest of the year, because we usually plan our calendar out at least 6 months in advance, so we know exactly what we're going to do, especially around the major days of service, MLK Day, 9/11, Veterans Day, and Earth Day. Those are usually major days of service for us, and we're definitely out in the community on those days.
On those days. So the ones that I talked about, like Karen's Place and this Hope Project, they would have to be fit into your calendar in some way.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to put both of them people, well, you're already in touch with Karen. I'm going to put both of those people in touch with you, because I really think that that's an important way if you guys could start to work with the Hope Foundation and these people who are having domestic violence, because I think those are one of the 2 of the biggest projects that a lot of these people need to deal with. And when I say need to deal with, there's a way that I think that both veterans and the community can work together on doing some of these things. One more time, tell them where you could be reached at.
My number is 757-615-3506.
And your name?
Renee Foster.
Ms. Foster, thank you so much for being a part of the Nonprofit Exchange. I'm your host, Richard Gilchrist, and thank you for listening.